Thank you guys all for coming and joining us here. It really means a lot to us to have you guys take the time out of your day and come join us for our workshop about inclusion and diversity. Because of the circumstances right now with the coronavirus, we weren't able to do this in person and do everything that we were planning on doing, but we're trying to make the best with what we have right now, which is Zoom. Next slide. So this is a little introduction about what we're going to be doing today. First, we're going to talk about what is inclusion and diversity and give you guys a quick introduction about that. Next, we'll show a quick video about inclusion and diversity. It's quite short, so it won't take too much time. After that, we'll do a little Kahoot game, which is just going to be 6 questions where you'll be using your phone, and we'll send you guys the game link, and you'll be able to answer the questions while watching this phone call or this Zoom call. After that, we have some discussion questions prepared for you guys. It's going to be 8 discussion questions, and we hope to hear almost everyone's personal insights and what they've experienced, what you guys have experienced in the workforce to contribute to this. And after that, we'll have a short conclusion talking about which companies really do inclusion and diversity well.
Okay, well, for this workshop, we will try to make you more aware of the importance of inclusion and diversity, how to implement them in your life, and why these are important factors to consider, not only for your professional, but also for your personal life. And we will do this by providing you with key information and guiding you through a discussion that will make you see and realize the importance of this. Let us start by defining the 2 words. Inclusion means a collaborative, supportive, and respectful environment that increases participation and contributes to all employees. And diversity refers to the traits and characteristics that make people unique, while inclusion refers to the behaviors and social norms that ensure people feel welcome. Inclusion mixed with diversity leads to a better chance of getting competitive business advantage, which of course is very important for any company. We wanted to start off this workshop with some icebreaker games, but since we can't be together right now, we'll just tell you if you ever need to give a workshop on inclusion or diversity, some ideas for games you can play with the people around you. You can, for example, form groups of 10 and hold hands and select one leader to entangle the whole group. Or you can play the diversity game, putting people into groups and see how diverse the groups are. For example, you can divide them by hair color, or by how they drink their coffee, or by their favorite dessert, and yeah, stuff like that.
So we'll now show you a little video about diversity and inclusion.
When diversity is portrayed, it's often shown as a mixture of people of different ages, abilities, gender, or with other visible differences. But look at this. Sam and Chloe have been friends for years. They lived in the same street, went to the same school, liked the same boy bands, and have a lot in common. But they were born in different countries. Geraldine went to the same private school as her mother, and then on to one of the most prestigious universities. There are some things that all 3 have in common, and other areas where they're all very different. The point is, when we talk about diversity, we're talking about all of us and all the ways we're different. It can include things like the type of education we had, where we were born and grew up, our family background, our physical and mental abilities, and also our values, attitudes, and beliefs. Some of these are visible, but many of them aren't. Here's an example. Pete's great at problem solving, analytical thinking, and staying focused on tasks. He can assimilate and retain lots of detailed information. He's a punctual, reliable, and dedicated employee. But Pete finds it hard to read people, which makes some situations difficult for him. Some see him as being aloof and unfriendly, but that's not fair or true. He'd like to be more involved, but he often feels anxious and unsure of himself. Pete's difference is sometimes described as a thinking style or being neurodivergent, and in the past, this was often seen as an impairment. But now, people are beginning to see beyond the differences to the person behind them. And a good example of this is from the television show Britain's Got Talent. Susan Boyle was one of the contestants. She looked a little awkward during the introduction section and stumbled on some of the questions. There were some knowing looks from the judges, and everyone was expecting a really awkward performance. But when she sang, she sang beautifully. After her performance, Amanda Holden, who was one of the judges, said, "I'm so thrilled because I know that everybody was against you. I honestly think we were all being very cynical, and I think that was the biggest wake-up call ever." Many organizations now value the benefits that a diverse workforce can bring, and here are some of the reasons they give. We need a balanced team with a mixture of skills, experiences, and ways of looking at things. We're all different, so we don't define someone by their differences. Instead, we value people for what they have to offer. Diversity helps us drive productivity and profits and gives us a competitive advantage. We have fair and equal selection and promotion practices. This means we have a larger pool of candidates to select and promote from, and this leads to diversity throughout the whole organization. Our customers come from all walks of life, and so do our staff. That means, as an organization, we have a better understanding of our customers and are more representative of them. In order for a diverse group of people to work together successfully, the work environment needs to be one where everyone is able to contribute to their full potential, and where no one is defined by or held back because of their differences. Here are some of the things that organizations are doing to help support inclusivity. One is removing barriers that restrict disabled people. For example, someone with a visual impairment may not be able to use a mouse or other pointing device with a computer. Instead, they use the tab key to navigate and a screen reader to read out the text. For this to work, documents must be formatted with headings, subheadings, and so on. Formatting documents in this way is actually good practice, and it helps everyone who uses the document, including any customers. Another example is making sure passageways are wide enough and kept clear so that people with physical disabilities can move around a building more easily. And also installing equipment such as induction loops for people who use hearing aids or have cochlear implants. When there are diverse attitudes and ways of looking at things, there's a chance that previously held assumptions will be challenged. Many organizations are supporting and encouraging a culture of openness so that new ideas and perspectives can be discussed freely. Flexible working hours, working from home, or job sharing can make the difference between someone, and especially someone with other commitments, being able to continue working or having to give up their job. A flexible working environment may also make it easier for someone to return to work after a break. Some social activities might exclude people and therefore not be inclusive as a work-related activity. For instance, a team get-together over a drink is unlikely to be suitable for a recovering alcoholic, someone who has to drive, or possibly someone on medication, and there are more inclusive alternatives. Of course, they're not saying that a group of friends from work can't go out for a drink. This is about making sure people aren't excluded from work-related activities because of their personal situation. Language and images can be offensive, and a shared environment with colleagues and perhaps customers and visitors isn't the same as a private space. So again, being inclusive is about being respectful of other people's values and sensibilities. You're probably familiar with some or all of these ideas, and over the years, many of them have been met with mixed reactions. But there are lots of examples of behaviors that were seen as normal or were tolerated in the past, which are no longer acceptable, and especially not in the workplace. Not so many years ago, smoking in public buildings and offices was commonplace, but not anymore. And even though legislation was used to enforce this, it's hard to imagine many people wanting to return to those days. There's a saying that when technology works, it's invisible. We flip a switch and the light comes on. We turn on a tap and water comes out. And we only notice technology when something goes wrong. And inclusion's a bit like that. When people aren't included, it's noticed. People are left out or not able to participate. But when inclusion is part of a culture, we tend not to notice it, as our differences are either irrelevant or help to make us stronger.
So yes, that was our short video about diversity and inclusion. So next, we would like for everyone to please go back to the presentation. If everyone could go to Kahoot, this is how you spell it, kahoot.it. From there, a little thing will pop up where you can put in a game code, which will show on the screen right now.
Oh, ik heb het niet teruggevonden.
One can type in this website, type in kahoot.it and then this number.
That's create.kahoot.it or is it www?
Oh, no. You need this one, the one on the screen.
En typen.
Nee, waarschijnlijk een slash.
Gamepin.
Yes.
Nickname.
Gewoon iets in je eigen naam.
Oh.
Okay, so after we start this Kahoot, there will be 6 questions. Yeah, you need to answer them as soon as possible to get the most points. And if you don't understand one of the answers, please ask so we can explain it.
Is everyone in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, then we get started.
So diversity within the workforce can be related to employee blank.
Okay, I think we're missing one answer.
So as well. Good. So about half the people got it. So diversity is really anything that sets you apart. So any sort of factor, where you grew up, what sports you like watching, anything can relate to your diversity. That is why it is all of the above.
Any questions?
No? Good.
Okay, then we continue.
I pressed the wrong button because I wanted to be the first.
Okay, next question.
Excuses.
This is the score.
What does diversity in the workplace refer to?
Who didn't get to answer? You're missing 2 people.
Down to 4.
Yeah, I couldn't answer.
It's okay. I think the timer is set quite
Time's
quite
up.
low, so we
Yeah,
might have
it's
you might
set
have
on
to
30
be very
seconds.
quick with it.
Yeah, there was a lot of yes on this one.
Yeah. Any questions about this one?
No, not really.
So it makes sense.
It also all the above.
The
Mm,
above.
no, because it's what diversity refers to. So it refers to the amount, the different characteristics in an organization.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not
All right.
just the
So
religious background.
not religious, not ethnic, nothing like that. Just characteristics.
Yeah, but also
Well, yes,
increasing the number
because
of
that
women
is included.
All right. Fair enough.
Any more questions?
All right, we'll move on then.
Okay. This is the score. And we continue to the next question.
Ooh,
Let's go, Peter.
very tight at the top. Inclusion means to create a work environment where everyone can be fully engaged. One more.
Yeah, everyone got it
All
right.
right.
No, we all got it.
Everyone got that. Now who was first?
It's Peter.
No,
Better
I can
internet.
take-
Oh,
Oh,
On fire.
on fire.
Okay, next question.
Which of the following is not one of the current trends in gender diversity in the workforce?
Oh my goodness.
yeah, I think we set the timer a bit too low. Sorry about that.
That is wrong here.
Great.
Ooh,
Okay,
this one's split.
4 for 5. Let's see.
Liana?
Leanna, would you like to explain?
Yeah, well, are there any questions about this? Because I see it's very mixed feelings about this question.
Maybe some people misread the not.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, that is quite
Maybe
confusing
you-
in the beginning.
Can
And
you
as
elaborate
as
a
I'm
little bit on
competing with Peter, I want to be faster. So
Yeah. Can you just elaborate a little bit on it, because I'm not sure if I fully got it. Can you explain it? Thanks.
well, there's of course a lot to do about gender diversity, and all of the other answers are a bit like woman compared to men, so like their wages or their promotions, and then of course they're desiring their employers to become good corporate citizens, but it doesn't have really anything to do with the gender diversity. It is a current trend in the workforce, but just not it's not really related to gender diversity. That's the difference between the answers here.
Oh,
so it's a trick question.
It
It is
is.
a trick question. It got me as well the first time.
You made it.
Okay, let's see the scores.
oh my goodness. I already dropped.
Ooh.
I don't see it. Oh.
It's taking the
Oh.
lead.
Got a
Oh,
new winner.
Oh,
All
wow.
right. Who knows, guys? Who knows?
you know.
Okay, next question.
All right. Benefits of manning diversity and inclusion effectively includes all except
What?
Not sure if
so
I
what are
got
the
it.
benefits of managing?
Oh my goodness.
Very,
Oh,
very fast.
oh, someone got in there right in the nick of time. to
Yeah, it was
answer.
me.
I don't know if it was right or wrong. Was it right?
It was right. Yeah, it was right.
Oh, wow.
Peter, big
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah, I dropped already.
And put
Just getting passed through.
I have to say it was a guess, though.
Good
Fair enough.
guessing.
Are there any questions about this? This one's also worded a little bit difficult with the time constraint.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, isn't there anything governments do in order to promote this? Maybe like hiring women instead of men in specific management roles or anything? I don't know.
I'm not sure if all governments do it, but I'm sure that most companies have quotas or a certain amount of people that they have to hire for different positions. But Let me see. Yeah,
Isn't
I'm
it
not
different
really sure
in
if every
in
government.
yeah, exactly. Isn't it different per country? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
what I would
maybe it's not
imagine.
much related to tax breaks. It could also be more like, yeah, striving for something or.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think we can move on. There we go. Let's see.
Last question.
Oh, last question. One action
I
a
was
company made.
Can you read it?
One action.
One action a company can take to effectively manage diversity and inclusion is hire only immigrant workers, set up a diversity council to monitor a company's goals, use a broad list of demographic factors to select
time's up.
applicants.
Time is too short.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, we need to make that time longer.
Time is too short.
I was not quick enough, I guess. The timer here.
That's one thing to take
They slow
away.
down the internet.
This
Yeah.
is for hey, Luca, you can't do that. Old people like me cannot. You have to give me more
Peter,
time. Yeah.
you've been going strong. Come on.
All right. As soon as he starts losing, the excuses come up. We see.
No.
But isn't it funny how competitive you come by a little game like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Wow.
course.
Everyone wants to win.
Well, my
So,
screen
let's
is
see.
frozen at the moment.
It's frozen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
Let's
clicked next
see.
already, but mine is too.
Yeah, mine's still on the screen.
Oh, now I see something happening. Yeah.
So who's the winner?
Yeah.
Oh, you.
So let's see.
Ooh,
Next,
first place.
put next
Yo.
one more time.
Well done.
Well done. Well done. All right. Perfect. Gino's. Well done, Gino.
Oh,
Well done.
Yay.
Well done. Congrats.
Thanks. What do I win?
I got only missed one class. Very good. So. All right. So next up, we will have some questions for you guys to answer. So the first question will be about diversity. So this will be quite chaotic, I believe, if I just read the question and everyone goes for an answer. So if you could first, before you start talking, just say your name so everyone knows who has the floor, and then continue on with what you would have to say, that would be very helpful. So the first question is, what does diversity in the workplace mean for you? If anyone has anything to say.
Hey, Gerard here. I think we already touched on a couple of them, like ethnic background, gender. What I also see at my place is that we also, for example, have introverts and extroverts people, which I think is also a different type of people with different needs and different characteristics. And another dimension, I think, is people who are very strong with details versus people who are more like visionary, who see the helicopter view, but are not really good in bringing something to an end and finishing the details, but they do have the vision, like what direction do we have to go.
Oh, yes, that's a very good point. I haven't even thought of the introverted versus extroverted side of the workplace and how that dynamic may go. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there anyone else who has anything to add?
Age is also very important.
Oh,
The
sorry.
diversity in age. I work with a lot of young people, and I like it because they are very good in some skills, and I'm better in other skills, and we complement each other.
Yeah. I'm sure that creates a very nice nice dynamic between you two as you guys are feeding off of each other.
Yes.
Very nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right, Ginos. For me, diversity at the workplace means something quite simple, actually. I work at a money exchange company, and we change money with a lot of different people from around the world. So we have people who speak English, but we have people who speak Spanish and Italian and stuff like that. So that's basically it. If someone doesn't know how to help a customer or what language he speaks, there's always someone around who does. So that's good for us.
Yeah, that is
Cool.
very nice.
Yeah.
Maybe this is Peter. Yeah, maybe to add, I'm working for a global elevator company. We have over 53,000 people working all around the world, and with this global network, if I want to get something done very quick, I give it to the Chinese. If I want to have a technical solution, very often it's well done on with the Germans. If you want to somehow sell more or gonna improve maybe the top line of the business, the Americans know very well how to do that. If we deal with people in saving cost and really costing down, the Brazilians are excellent in doing that. And so these different backgrounds are just maybe how they grew up, the challenges they face in their countries. Even there are differences and in certain skills, and so these backgrounds. That's what I experience every day. That's quite interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is.
What I have at my own job is I work for a credit card company, and I help the people who have questions or who have a skimmed credit card or had fraud. Someone. And what I see is that a lot of people, there's a lot of different people working there, and they all ask for input, and I really like how the company just works with that, because they actually do something with our opinion, and there's a lot of different people on the work floor just coming up with ideas, and they actually become a better company because they're listening to a great variety of people and actually value their opinion. So that's what I really like.
That's great.
Very nice.
That's how it should be, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's almost the second question. This one, you answered just to this question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does the workplace include diversity? Yeah.
Yeah. So should we go on to the next question then?
Yeah.
Sure,
I think
yeah.
that was. So, oh, Alessandro, sorry.
How does your workplace include diversity?
So, is there anything specific that you guys see on a day-to-day basis, or is it kind of once a month you'll have a certain event for this, or how does it work where you guys have worked at?
Maybe I go then. We had like a few years ago, we had a management team where almost everybody was German. And there was a program with HR, human resources, how to bring more diversity. And all those programs pretty much failed until the mix of management changed. Now we have an Australian CEO, a Turkish CFO, a German CHRO. In our top 30 leadership team, there's 11 different nations or nationalities. And that did start driving really the diversity throughout the company. I believe it's important that it starts on top to live it, and then it really trickles down through the organization. And we have been able to really drive it forward by doing some of those changes.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's very nice.
we've done quite a bit in school about the top-down approach and starting at leadership positions to make a change throughout the whole structure of a company. So yeah. Has anyone else noticed any sort of stuff happening in your workplace that you can comment on? Any
Yeah,
diversity measures? Or?
Gino. Yeah, well, we got like an internal Facebook thing, social media. You can make your own page within the company's network, and they upload a story of someone's story, a new employee or a special employee every month or every 3 weeks. So it really
Wow.
shows what they're all about, so you can get into the different characteristics. And
Yeah.
they also have an up-to-date LBTQ or whatever the thing is called, um,
Mhm.
on the background and stuff. They're really up to date with that, so they really
Wow.
do work hard for that.
So a very forward-thinking company when it comes to
Yeah.
diversity.
Yeah, it follows the trends very well.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah. This is Gerard. I'm working for a software company, and what we do try, but it's hard because of the business that we're in. We try to get also as much as we can female engineers, female software developers. But typically, it's still very much a male profession. For well, I don't know the reason exactly. I could imagine a few, but it's what we see. So we do try to get a better mix of male and female, but it's pretty hard, I must say, for a real software company to make that happen. Of course, in different roles like HR or maybe management assistants, that is where we see more females, and also in finance. But development is still pretty hard, but we're trying.
It makes me.
Another
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, one other thing I would like to mention here. I talked about introverts, extroverts, those kind of things. What we also see is we have an open office space, and some people really thrive in a space like that because they can really, well, they like the noise and the busyness, and they can really work well in that environment. There's other people who are completely distracted by even somebody making a cup of coffee, by the grinding of the machine. And that is also that can really impact people's productivity. So we're also looking at how we can make the environment such a way that those people who like to have some silence have a place to go, and the people that want to sit in an open space with more liveliness also can find their way around.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
It's very nice. It's a
Yes.
great way to make sure everyone feels included in the workplace and feels like there's a spot for them.
And
Very
it
great.
makes me wonder, these stories, is it sometimes the profession is just more for male than female, or for female than male? And is it necessary to really go look for a female if they don't want it? Like, are you going to push for it to get them in, or are you just going to accept that
Yeah.
they don't want it? Maybe it's a difficult topic, but
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well,
I can maybe share some. Oh, no, go ahead, Luis.
no,
You
no,
go
please
ahead.
be my guest. Go ahead.
There is, I just want to throw this in to think a little bit also. We had this huge diversity push, and for a while it was really this male-female ratio and how to improve it. And somehow the company was so desperate to improve it that as a male, you had almost no chance anymore to get an HR position in management. Because if there was an open HR position, it was automatically given to a female because it was so important to get somehow this ratio done. So I think it's always something to also what you just mentioned before, to be a little bit mindful still to win the best candidate over and not somehow compromise and somehow one or the other way giving some target ratios to maybe hire the third or fourth best person for the job. That's at least my view.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah. So the conclusion is always look for the best person, best qualified person.
That should always be the conclusion. Yeah.
Yeah, but I could
But is
imagine
it
some
always?
cases when you have similar candidates and one is a male, the other one is a female, that as a secondary maybe thing to make your choice, base your choice upon. It could then be the fact that you have so many men and less women in the company. I think it could still make be part of the choice. Not entirely, but it could still make a difference. Yeah.
I think I agree on that. If there's a female with the same skill level and or a man with the same skill level, that you should go for the female if there's less females in the building.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, well,
I'm working for a company that does a lot of business for publishers, and it's funny because sometimes my colleagues, they go to editorial departments, for example, for Linda or some of the, Libella, those kind of magazines in the Netherlands, and some of those workplaces are occupied solely by women, and the atmosphere there and the that's also not a healthy thing. I mean, you can have a male environment which is not completely healthy. Also, having a complete female environment is not healthy. And you can really see that to the extreme in some of those companies and what it does to the way people behave and how to respond to one another. So the mix is really healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's all the time we have for this question. I think we should move on.
yes. Okay, so why do you think we need diversity in the workplace?
Yeah, I feel like we've done a pretty good job of covering that in the last answer. I feel like we got some very good, insightful responses to that. If anyone would just like to add something small, or if not, we can also move on to the next question.
I would say
you become a better company. You achieve better results, and especially if you're a global company, if you're not diverse and have all these stakeholders globally somehow involved, you will probably not have always the right products and the right approach to your customer. So
yeah, I agree. Especially in a global economy, you need a workforce that consists out of a lot of different nationalities, a lot of different cultures, so you can get different insights of yeah,
exactly.
I think a small thing to add here is what I see in my company is I go back to the example of the languages and people being able to speak those. I think you're gonna hit roadblocks if you don't have that diversity in a company like mine. So it's really important to have that. Otherwise, you can't grow or you can't be as good as you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, good point.
But personally, I also really feel it's both fun and also interesting to hear stories and people from different countries and different cultures. I mean, what do we know about how people live in some other country? I mean, we've seen the television, but we hardly go there and having those people as colleagues and hearing about their way of living and how they deal with family and what they eat, those kind of things. I think that's pretty fun as well and interesting.
Yeah, it definitely creates an uplifted workplace environment.
Yeah, and it makes the world much bigger. Your personal world also becomes bigger because of that.
Yeah, yeah. Very well. Shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay. So the last question is quite personal. Have you ever experienced a company culture that did not promote diversity? Is there a time where you really noticed it, like, wow, that person didn't get hired because of this, or something along those lines? Anything quite extreme?
This is Ellen. I work on a school, and once I heard one of the teachers who applied for a job, she was wearing dreadlocks, and these dreadlocks, they really smelled bad. So I heard from the management that they didn't hire her because it was not acceptable to have a person like that in front of the class because she was smelling. That's the only thing I ever heard about somebody being rejected because of her way of living.
Yeah. Wow, but that is very, very extreme.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Well, she was in my classroom to look what the job would be like, and I agreed with him. It would not be good for the children being
Mhm.
sit in that smell all day. So it was
Yeah.
pretty extreme.
Yeah, it's a thin
Yeah.
line, isn't it? Yeah, I
It
hired
is.
people I hired people myself, and I caught myself thinking this person might not fit within the group. Not on any like yeah, it's just it's really hard. There's a thin line between am I cutting him out because yeah, well, didn't fit, or she didn't fit inside the group, so I didn't hire them. So if
Mhm.
you have any insights on what does that mean? What am I thinking, or where am I going with my head? You know, I didn't want to hire them because I thought they won't fit.
So you'll know
Explain,
Yeah.
please.
that that kind of is not promoting it, because maybe they did, but it's just like assumptions and they're made by everyone. But
Exactly, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm saying it's a really thin line, and I don't know where
yeah,
to draw it. I don't know where to draw it,
Yeah.
and we're all people, so we need to figure out how to draw that
Mhm.
line. And if we do draw a line, we are again doing something to put up boundaries.
Hmm.
We're not
Yeah.
looking for the right skills. We're looking for the right people,
Mhm.
like characteristics. See,
Yeah,
there's a
but
thin line.
sometimes that is very difficult to draw that line because, as human intuition, you're supposed to trust your gut feeling, and sometimes it can be quite difficult thinking, oh, should I not hire this person because of what I may think about them, or is it really a gut feeling telling me I don't think this person will do well in my company? That can be a very difficult decision to make, and yeah, like you said, it's very difficult to draw that line. Um, but
Yeah, but to be honest, I think it's a good example, but I don't really think this caters as, well, it doesn't have to do with diversity. This is more like team fit or company fit. And it's not
Mhm.
because this person has a different religion or anything. So I still feel that this is a little bit of a different case. I mean, we've had the same thing a few weeks ago. We had two candidates, and we choose the one. I would say they had both their own qualities, but we chose the one where we thought this one fits better in the team, because we have to work together. We depend on one another, and that is
Mhm.
to me not so much selecting on diversity, but more on personal characteristics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of course,
Yeah, I'm gonna be painfully honest. Then I did not hire someone because they were extremely religious, and the work environment didn't fit that religion, in my opinion.
okay, yeah, that's different. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be a
Yeah.
bit different, but yeah. Does anyone else have anything to offer into this? If not, thank you
Uh,
for that personal insight.
go ahead.
Um, yeah, so I think we can move on to the next question. We are cutting it a little close on time, but we'll allow you guys to continue with this discussion. How you like, Leana?
okay. So what is inclusion to you? So we had diversity, but what does inclusion mean to you?
I mean,
I
it's
was. Oh,
actively.
this is Ellen.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead. Okay. Well, I read a nice um, summary of what is inclusion, and somebody said like um, diversity is like when you invite everybody to come to your party, and inclusion is when everybody gets invited to dance. So
Mm,
then there's inclusion. So I think that was a nice way to put it simple.
yeah,
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 yeah.
it is actually.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a very good way to relate it to something that everyone knows about being,
Yeah.
feeling excluded at a party, not feeling like you're fitting in. Yeah.
Hmm.
Does anyone else have anything to offer?
So I could go on for 10 minutes, but I think this was a brilliant
Yeah.
short summary.
So as well. Very nice. We'll move on to the next question then. Have you ever felt like you've been excluded at the workplace? And if so, how do you feel like you've grown from it? So once again, quite a personal question, but if anyone cares to share, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, well, I'll go then. I did feel excluded at a certain workplace because of where I came from a social point, social status. and I've recognized that maybe I should hold back on where I come from in my social environment until they see what I can accomplish. So how did I grow from it? Um, I think just not being too honest at the beginning.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's growing, but it's a tactic.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go in somewhere, say everything about yourself and expect everyone to agree or like you, you know,
To
it's
include
never
you.
gonna happen like that. Of course, that's never
Yeah.
gonna happen like that. Does anyone else have any sort of personal insight to this or something they'd like to share?
I maybe can share something. Yeah, I'm working in the automotive business for many years, and changed industry and work for a lift company now, different industry. And the CEO did bring me in because he did want to have a certain expertise the company did not have. And now the challenge was that very clearly he did believe that this is a good idea. That's what we need. It's an additional skill set, more diversity, but a lot of other people did not think that is really necessary. And so to get involved and maybe look into their kingdoms of departments and groups and organizations, I felt very excluded because somehow, yeah, I was just not welcome by most of them, and so that can be very challenging in the beginning. Yeah.
How do you feel like you've gone from this? Do you feel like you would approach that situation differently next time, or how would you, with the knowledge you know now, how would you go back to that?
I mean, I did not know what I got into, so I did not know the politics and how this company was set up and so on. So now I wouldn't, maybe I would have gone a little bit slower with certain things, being a little bit more mindful also in the communication with certain stakeholders. But it did take me a long time or quite a while to earn everybody's trust and show them the value to do certain things maybe a different way.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone else, or I feel like we've wrapped this question up?
Yeah, I'm happy this hasn't happened to me after school. I mean, in school this is pretty, I would say, standard behavior, but after school I have not been in those situations anymore. Not in my working environment, fortunately.
Very good. That is very fortunate. Good. So then we will move on to the next question. Sandro?
What type of inclusion activities does your work do? And which ones have failed and which ones have succeeded? So has there ever been a time at your work that they put together people for a certain training about inclusion, and what activities did they do?
Well, when I started my new job like 2 months ago, I immediately had to go on a deep dive with my team. And it was the first time they did it, but it was actually to include everyone because we have a very busy schedule. So no one really has the time to get to know each other. And this way they try to include everyone and actually work because you get to know your coworkers and you actually have someone to talk to when you're on your break, or so you're not that alone anymore. So I feel like those kind of activities really work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the deep dive.
Yeah, I also I believe these trainings on inclusion, they're helpful, but I believe they're not in the end solving so much. I think that they're good. They're make people think. They make us all think, but it's not really going to work so well. Doing some trainings in the workplace and hope that something changes. My experiences is spending time with each other as most important, and also having maybe the possibility in team events outside work know more about each other, learn about each other, start appreciating each other, can be very helpful, because it's often a little bit that uncertainty about another person, or maybe somebody who is insecure, someone who is insecure, him or herself, on how to fit in. I think it's really important to spend time with each other, and learn about each other, have some
Yeah.
social interaction.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
you feel like almost any sort of organic inclusion is better than setting up a workshop for people to go and feel included.
Yeah, I mean, I just can maybe share this, that our group was, our management team was not a good team at all, and our CEO did take us 4 times a year to a team event, and there was not even an agenda. There was nothing to prepare, and you just have to take your hiking boots and whatever with you, and you just wonder, what are we doing? Why are we spending 3 days away from work? We are also busy. This is the worst time possible, and nobody really did like to go to these events. And every time you went to the event and you came home, you thought, this was really good. It was very interesting. We got a lot out of it. We learned a lot about what others do. And it did take a while. It did probably take 8 or 9 such events. And now we are a pretty tight management group. And some people who did not fit in, they're also not part of it. And some other people are, but overall, I was quite amazed how that process just worked, with meeting, with eating, with discussing, with debating, with doing a workshop, with spending time together, maybe drinking at the bar, whatever it is, having a sports event, how much that helped to bring everybody on the same page. And so that was his goal, and it succeeded quite well.
Yeah.
Mm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my work doesn't really do activities for inclusion, and I think that's a good thing because it goes quite naturally, and I'm very happy with that. So it's
Yeah.
just organic. It doesn't need to be forced onto the group. It just
Mhm.
happens.
Right. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to share, or can we move on?
Well, maybe one thing to mention here. I think that.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Please go.
Well, in some cases, I think also it's good if management sometimes addresses issues that may be playing within a company. For example, to give an idea, we have a very international environment as well, even though we're based in Zaandam, but I have a lot of international colleagues. And a number of them speaks a little bit of Dutch, or some of them don't speak Dutch at all. And inclusion also means switching to the language that people understand. And what sometimes happens is that during lunch or whatever social event, people tend to start talking in their native tongue, which is typically Dutch for most of the people. And then there's somebody sitting at the table who doesn't speak Dutch, and he's completely left out of the conversation. And this is not on purpose. People are just simply not always aware, or let's say considerate about it. But you just see that this person is then just, leaving the table 15 minutes earlier because he doesn't have any contact with any of his direct
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
So,
next to him.
so I
And-
wonder, just because Luca, you don't speak Dutch as well, but most of our class is Dutch. Do you feel like that sometimes, or?
Yeah, sometimes I do. When a whole debate starts and everyone just instantly switches to Dutch to be able to make their point clear on what they're saying, I most of the time I just check out and just wait until the discussion's over and someone can just say in English what the conclusion of the discussion is. It does happen quite a bit, but yeah, luckily for me, at the end, it always comes back to English, so I'm always aware of what's going on. But I could imagine in a workplace where you don't always want to be repeating yourself and then doing it in another language, it could become quite a bit of a challenge for someone who doesn't speak that language.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what I wanted to say, I think this is the issue, and I think it's good if management or the company as a whole is aware of this and also dares to address this issue and talk to people like, hey, take this little effort and switch to the language of the person I've seen.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we should wrap up this question and go to the last one.
Yes.
So what are you doing to make sure everyone feels included?
So yeah, once again, a very personal question. Can you ever think of a time where you may have seen someone eating alone at lunch and you decide to go sit next to them just to make a friend, see how they're doing, or any situation like this, anything, as
Yeah.
small as it may be or as big as it may be.
For example, we're trying to teach Luca so he can actually follow our conversations.
I'm learning
And he doesn't
slowly.
feel excluded.
Very
Only
slowly.
keywords though.
Yeah, I'm learning some good stuff. Optifiets. Optifiets.
Op the feet.
Optifiets, yeah.
I know that one.
Right, do you feel included?
Yeah, I feel included now.
Perfect.
Well, this is Ellen. I would I always I don't talk with people about people. So if somebody starts to tell me about somebody, then I'll always say, let's go. Shall we speak with her, or shall we speak with him? So that's, for me, that's a good way. So everybody gets their saying what they want to say, and I feel
No
fine.
matter how painful.
Yeah, yeah.
So no talking behind people's backs.
No talking behind.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. That stops a lot of
Good.
conflicts before they start. Just being able to
Yeah,
to stop all the bad talking behind backs. Yeah,
yeah.
very well.
If we have like a conference, I try to mix up people because there's the Spanish group and the US group and the Chinese group. And so just to see the arrangement, we just mix everything through. And then you have some people, they always speak up. They're always communicating and want to maybe share. And others who are maybe a little bit more introvert or quieter or maybe new to the group. And so I try to bring them into maybe the first row or have asked them during conversations or discussions what they think so that they feel comfortable. They understand they're part of the team and mentioning them. So I think it's especially the people who maybe are a little bit quieter or maybe new to the team to give them visibility and give them also a little bit the opportunity to get on stage and so on. So I think that helps. And if we do that, everybody starts doing that and they're part of the team.
Yeah,
That's excellent.
very well. So I think that's basically concluded the discussion. Thank you guys so much for participating in that. We have one more slide to go to, I believe.
Yeah. Well, one video.
Great. Yeah. So we are cutting it a little close
We're
on
gonna show
time,
you
so
one
we'll
video.
show the first.
Yeah, we're showing you a little video of a company who does really, really well on diversity and inclusion.
Open a door and it opens all the others. Open a mind and see what happens next. No great thing, no beautiful invention was created in a vacuum. It happens when we leave our comfort zone and come together. Embrace faiths, cultures, disabilities, differences. Embrace races, ages, ideologies, personalities, creating a tool or device nobody saw coming. Humanity is plural, not singular. The best way the world works is everybody in, nobody out. So who we're made of is everyone. Differences, not just celebrated, but essential. Many more women in charge, equal pay for equal work everywhere. A new generation of Apple, more diverse than the one that came before. Open is not just who we are, but what we believe as a company. Because humanity isn't singular, it's plural. The truth is, we don't see things the same. The power is, we don't see things the same.
So that's obviously a very famous company that I'm sure everyone here is familiar with, Apple. Apple is actually one of the best companies when it comes to including. They scored a 100% in the Corporate Equality Index for the LGBT community and LGBT inclusion, which is they were one of the companies, and there was 12 others in the whole world that has scored a 100% on that. So Apple is really doing their part in making sure everyone feels equal, everyone feels included, no matter what your preferences are, what your sex is. None of that really matters when it in Apple. They're really doing a good job towards that. And Apple's also committed 50 million euros to the tech workforce diversity, which is something that Gerard, I think you were talking about. You can see in the software development space, you can see that it's basically a male predominant market. There isn't that much women in that, for whatever reason that may be. But Apple's included 50 million euros, and this goes to all throughout the world. It can go to different schools that are in need of funding. It can go to different STEM courses that promote tech work. Apple is really one of the best companies that it comes to when it comes to inclusion and diversity. And just a little like personal note, I was just in the Apple store a few weeks ago before all of this coronavirus stuff happened, where everything's on lockdown now. And
There we are.
There we are. Okay.
And sorry, did I miss something?
Yeah, we got thrown out.
Yeah, same.
Okay, well, I'm glad you guys are back.
I think feeling good.
I was in a few weeks ago before everything with the coronavirus started, and when I walked in, I really did notice how diverse the whole workforce was. I mean, just the people on the outside on the floor, I could tell there was, it seemed pretty evenly split between women and men, but I also saw men with a turban on working there. And just all these little things. I saw a gentleman with dreadlocks on as well, like all these different things that include into diversity, and everyone was there as a team. So yeah, Apple is a very good company when it comes to this. I think that has basically been it for our workshop. Thank you guys so much for coming and taking the time out of your day. It really does mean a lot to us that you'll sit down with us for more than an hour to help us out with inclusion and diversity and giving your insights and your opinions. If there's any other questions that anyone would like to ask to end it off, or just say anything, a comment, anything would be much appreciated.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having us on. It was really nice.
Very
Yeah,
glad
thank you.
everyone
Thank
could
you
make
for
it.
joining. Yeah.
Thank you for joining.
And I also think it's very good that you, as a new generation, look at those kind of topics, because this is, let's say, the new world that we live in. So it's good that you pay attention to it.
Yeah, most definitely.
I also think this is a very diverse group of people who are calling in right now, and I think that's a great way to start off a presentation like this. My compliments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much.
Thank everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.
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 Bye bye.